Ladies and gentlemen, Bart Campolo.
I often feel the need to, I'm often made uncomfortable by long and flowery introductions like that. But I'm working on it. All right, so, good morning. I wish I was more technically excellent. And if I was, there would be a beautiful graphic on that screen with 3 concentric circles in it. If I had the 3 concentric circles, some of you would know where I was going, because where I want to start is with a moment. In one of the world's most famous TED Talks, a TED Talk probably many of you have seen, Simon Sinek managed to codify how inspiring leaders and organizations think, act, and communicate by introducing this idea called the golden circle. And the golden circle was these 3 concentric circles, which he called a naturally occurring pattern grounded in the biology of human decision-making that explains why we're inspired to act by some people and by some organizations and by some messages and completely left cold by others, right? Like, why do some people get to us? Why do some movements take off? Why do some ideas take hold? And Sinek said, listen, I can explain it to you with these 3 circles. And what he had was, in the 3 circles, the circle in the middle was, he wrote why. And the one just outside, he wrote how. And the one on the outside, he wrote what. And he said most organizations, most individuals, most leaders, they work from the outside in. Everybody knows what they do. Like the Dell Computer Company, they make computers. Nike, they make sneakers. Everybody knows what their organization does. But he said some organizations not only know what they do, but they can tell you how they do it. In a sense, they can tell you how they do it better than other people. We have the best scientists, or we use the best materials, or we use only local ingredients. They're able to say, like, this is how we do our thing that's different from how somebody else does it. This is our, proprietary process. But he said only a few leaders and organizations have the why. Only a few can tell you why they do what they do. I mean, the why that they have, some of them is simple, like so that we can make money, so that we can make a profit, so that we can sell you our thing, our idea. But he said very few can articulate a why that's deeper than I want to get rich. And according to Sinek, great messages in organizations, what characterizes them is instead of working from the outside in, they work from the inside out. In other words, they can explain and demonstrate and sell people on their why first. And then use the why, like this is why I'm here, to inspire others to buy into what they're doing. He put it this way, he said, people don't buy what and how you do. They don't buy what and how you do. They buy why you do it in the first place. If it's sounding all obtuse to you, he used a great example. He talked about Apple Computer, which I have. And he said, Apple's unlike other computer companies. Why are they so much more successful over many years than a lot of their competitors? And he said, it's really simple. He said, most computer companies start with the what? We make computers. And they say, how? We use the best materials. We have really good scientists. We make really good computers. And they say, why? So that you'll buy them. Want to buy? And he said, they don't inspire anybody. Apple, on the other hand, he says, their pitch is this. We push boundaries. We challenge the status quo. We're changing the world. And you say, and how are you doing that? Oh, well, we do that by bringing people together and creating beautifully designed, user-friendly products. Today it's a computer. Want to buy one? So they start with the insight. We're about changing the world. We have a vision for the whole world. And we're about pushing boundaries. And what Sinek says is if you buy into that identity, and you go like, well, I want to push boundaries. I want to change the world. I want to challenge the status quo. He says, then they can sell, then you'll buy their computer. He said, what's more is they can change their mind and go like, now we want to change the status quo by selling you a phone. Now it's going to be an MP3 player. Now it's going to be something else. And he said, you'll keep switching with them because the reason you're loyal to Apple isn't because of what they make. It's because of why. The identity of the company. People are loyal to that company. I mean, it's a strange company. You actually see people with little Apple signals on the back of their car, like they're loyal to the company they gave thousands of dollars to for a computer. He says, once you buy into their why, you'll trust them to build anything for you because you know why they're in business. And it's not just to make money. It's to make change. He says the reason that works is, he says, it's rooted in human biology. It's scientific. He says what basically the difference is that when Apple's appealing to the why, and the other companies are talking about the what, the other companies are speaking to your prefrontal cortex, your reason, your rationality, your logic. They're saying like, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is why it makes sense. This is good stuff we do here. And he said they're talking to you they're speaking to the part of you that processes ideas and language that way. He said, but what Apple does when they talk to the why is, they're speaking to your limbic brain. Prefrontal cortex is fairly new to us human beings. But the limbic brain, we share that with all the animals, the lizards even, fight or flight, fear, aggression, all those kinds of things. Love, feelings. And he said the limbic part of your brain doesn't use language. You don't reason with the limbic part of your brain. It works on a different level. And so, you say, well, what do you mean? You're saying people don't make their decisions on the basis of reason? My friends, if people made their decisions on the basis of reason, we wouldn't be like a couple hundred people in a ballroom, right? We would rule the world. Right? All the people that you're worried about out there, all the agendas that you're trying to fight against, you think any of them are driven by reason? No, they're driven by limbic brains. They're driven by gut feelings. And the thing is, as Jonathan Haidt once said, we human beings aren't rational creatures, we're rationalizing creatures. We make decisions in our gut, in our limbic brain, and then we later, after the fact, come up with reasons to support them. I was driving down here, I was driving by the Creation Museum on my way down here. And if you've ever been to the Creation Museum, it is a monument, a testament to the human endeavor to take a decision that somebody's made at a very gut level and then try to rationalize it and come up with an explanation around it. That's how people really make decisions. And what Sinek was trying to communicate is that great people and messages and organizations, successful ones, know and can explain and can speak to your limbic brain first. They can speak to the why first. They can say, this is what we're doing here. This is why it matters. This is what we're about. They cast a vision for you, and then later on they'll tell you about the how and the what. Because what they know they need to do is, in order to get your blood, sweat, and tears, in order to get you to act, they need to get you to feel. Because human decision making is made in the feelings, not in the brain. That's why sometimes people say, listen, I know what you're saying is right. It all makes sense to me, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. My gut it doesn't hit me in my gut. And so the question he says, how do we become better at speaking to people's guts? How do we become better at speaking to people's hearts? People don't buy into how or what you do. They buy why you do it. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I got a friend who is trapped in the free thinker's worst nightmare. So what is the free thinker's worst nightmare? The free thinker's worst nightmare is this. My friend was an evangelical Christian missionary for 25 years. Okay, he grew up in evangelical Christianity, and he became a missionary, and an overseas missionary, and he did all this work, married, has kids and grandkids, the whole schmear. And about 3 years ago, he had a crisis and he thought his way out. And when he thought his way out, while he was thinking his way out of Christianity, his wife was doubling down on her faith and praying for his salvation and praying that God would bring him back. And now he finds himself married to a woman who he dearly loves, with whom he has children and grandchildren and a whole life. And she is more Christian than she's ever been, and he is completely out of the game. And the differences between them are destroying their marriage. See, she thinks that he's trying to undermine her and undermine everything that they've worked for. He thinks that she's trying to destroy her relationship with her kids and her community and everything. He's trying to pull her away from everything she values. And he thinks she doesn't, he's deeply hurt because she doesn't seem to care about what he's thinking these days. She doesn't want to talk to him about what's really on his mind. Their intimacy is just shattered because it's like both of them are convinced that they have nothing in common. And he says to me, what do I do? I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to lose everything. He says, how do I convince her? How do I reason with her to get her to see the light of day? And I have to tell him the truth, and that is, you're wasting your time. You've got a lousy vision for your marriage. See, his vision for his marriage and her vision for the marriage is the same. Each of them is waiting for the other one to come around. Each of them is waiting for the other one to change their mind, is to become something other than they are. And they're like, our marriage won't work unless he becomes a Christian again or unless she finally gives it up. And if you knew these people, you would know it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He needs a new vision, I told him. So what's your vision? He needs a vision for an interfaith marriage. So what do you mean an interfaith marriage? Well, he's changed a lot in his brain, but he hasn't changed at all in his heart. He's still committed to loving relationships. He's still committed to making the world a better place. He's still committed to wonder and to enjoying this life and to gratitude. He's still committed to growth. He still wants to overcome his demons and become a better person. He's still committed to his kids and his grandkids. He's the same guy he always was. I can relate to this. I was a Christian for 30 years, and when I left, nobody could tell the difference until I told them. Because I'm the same guy, and he's the same guy. And so, in a sense, he's a secular humanist. That's his religion. That's his worldview. And that's his ethos. And that's his reason for pursuing goodness. And she's an evangelical Christian. And that's her worldview. But if you knew her, you'd know she's not one of those scary evangelical Christians. She's wonderful. She wants to build orphanages. She wants to help lonely people have some place to be on Thanksgiving. She takes care of little kids. She's progressive. She marches for LGBTQ rights. She's into all the right stuff. She's the right kind of Christian. She's the best kind of Christian. They have exactly the same values. They just have different worldviews supporting them. And so I said you've got to come up with a different vision for your marriage. Your marriage can't be about having a debate to see which one of you is right. It has to be about saying, how do we pursue our shared values together? How do I become the kind of Christian who doesn't just tolerate your Christianity, but that encourages it, that supports it, that says, hey, what happened at church today? What did the preacher talk about? Hey, wait a second, that doesn't seem to jibe with this other belief. You told me that God works this way, but now you're saying this. And I say, but shouldn't he be challenging her beliefs? No, he shouldn't challenge her beliefs. She'll just double down. He shouldn't talk to her reason. He should talk to her heart and challenge her to be the best kind of Christian. And he needs to say to her, you need to become the kind of Christian that says to me, what happened at your humanist group? What were you guys talking about? What are you going to do about that? Hey, I thought your humanism said that you had room for this and that, but you don't seem to be living up to your own values. They need to be able to not only encourage each other, but to challenge each other. Not challenge each other's beliefs, but challenge each other's values. They've got to be able to talk about this stuff. Again, religion can't be off the table. It has to be at the center of the conversation. He's got to be interested in her life, and she's got to be interested in him. They've got to have a vision that's better than just one of them winning. Winner takes all. You see, why are you telling me about your friend's marriage? Because we're all married to fundamentalists. You say, no, I'm not. My wife is a free thinker. My wife is a stock atheist. And I go, no. I mean in this country. In this country, we live with them. We work with them. They're in our families. They're in our neighborhoods. They're in our communities. We're all related to believers, and they're all related to us. And what I'm beginning to wonder is, if we need a new vision too. Because they're trying to convince us, and we're trying to convince them. And what I'm thinking is, I'm wondering if we've got it all backwards. If we're all working from the outside in instead of from the inside out. See, our what is really simple. Our what is to promote and protect reason and logic and science and atheism. We want to promote that. We want more people to give up believing in God. We want more people to embrace reason as a way of life. And our how? We run conferences. We have podcasts. We write books. We get in debates. We talk to people. We street epistemologize. We do all sorts of things to try to win people over to our way of thinking. And our why? Because we think we want the rest of the world to adopt reason, science, and atheism too. Because then the world will be a better place when everybody gives up that crazy thinking and starts to be more like us. And I'm thinking that that's not a very inspiring vision. And one of the reasons, it's certainly not inspiring to me, I got to be honest with you. Winning everybody over for atheism, and I got to tell you, the reason it doesn't inspire me is because it is completely unrealistic. It is crazy talk. If you believe that, you're a worse utopian than anybody who thinks we're going to go off and live with Jesus forever and ever in Happy Land. Our vision can't be to convince everybody else to think like us, to wipe out religion, to win the world over for reason and science and atheism. That's a crap vision. I don't know what your vision for the future is, but here's what I'm here to tell you is it better not only tolerate believers, you've got to find a way to embrace and encourage and stand in solidarity with believers who share our values. Because the fact of the matter is they're always going to be there. You think your educational programs are going to wipe out supernaturalism? I'm here to tell you, if the Men in Black guy got here right now and he had that little machine that could wipe everybody's brain, and we wiped God off the face of the planet, and nobody even had ever heard of God. We wiped out all the religious literature, all the religious communities. We wiped out, nobody believed in God. Wait 2 weeks and somebody would invent God all over again. Because that's what human beings do. The most natural thing in the world is to believe in God. Every culture all over the world, from scratch, comes up with it. It is natural to believe in God. We come up with stories for things that we can't explain. That's human nature. Our vision needs to be better than that. Our vision needs to be a world where women are fully equalized. Our vision needs to be for a world where LGBTQ people are safe and sound everywhere they go. Our world, we need to come up with a vision for the world that says everybody will have affordable health care and everybody will have a decent place to live. We need to have a vision for the world where all of nature, I'm talking about animal, mineral, vegetable, human, all nature, can flourish together. And most of all, for the community builders out there, we need to have a vision where everybody in the world has a tribe or a family or someplace where they know they belong and they know they're loved and they're challenged to live up to their best values. And they are challenged to pursue loving relationships and to make the world better for other people and to cultivate wisdom and gratitude for the wonders of this life. And that means where the religious people have tribes like that, And the Muslims have tribes like that, and the Christians have tribes like that, and the Hindus have tribes like that, and the Buddhists have tribes like that, and the humanists have tribes like that, and the atheists have tribes like that, and everybody has a tribe like that. Because human beings we don't do well on our own. We don't do well unsupported. We need to be nurtured and loved. We have great values, but none of us live up to them because most of us are isolated and atomized by a culture and by a technology that leaves us feeling alone in the world. And we need actual human interaction. We need actual connection in order to reach our fullest potential. And the question I gotta find myself asking is, why aren't more of us banding together to support and encourage each other? Why are so many atheists and secularists out there alone? Why are there so few loving, warm, outreaching, caring, secular communities? I have friends who move to other cities and they can't find one. People in little towns and they can't find 10 or 12 humanists that are getting together. Why don't we band together like that more? And you know what I think it might be? I think that most of the people, I think the problem is we're evangelizing the wrong people. We're trying to convince all the believers to give up God, and what we should be doing is we should be out there trying to evangelize all the non-believers to commit themselves to a better world and to commit themselves to banding together to make it happen. I think that the reason most of the people don't join your organizations and my organizations, I think the reason that most of the non-believers are completely unaffiliated with anything like what we're talking about here is because they're not inspired by our vision. Because the idea of making the world atheist and wiping out religion isn't particularly inspiring to them. Honestly, it's not that inspiring to most of us. It's why our organizations tend to be limp. Struggle to keep people engaged, struggle to keep people moving. Great organizations, great leaders, great messages speak to the why. And they cast a vision that people are willing to suffer and die for. And what I'm suggesting is that nobody's going to suffer and die for a secular world that's never going to exist anyway. But people would suffer and die and sacrifice and care and work together if they believed that their organizations and if they believed that their efforts were going to lead to a world in which everybody felt connected to somebody. And everybody was being challenged to be the best kind of person. Now, don't get me wrong, I know it's not that simple. I know there are Christian things you can't support. That's why you better find the Christians you can support, because they're the ones that can beat those other ones. You got to stop challenging what people believe and start saying, hey, I want to challenge you to live up to what you believe. We've got to become good encouragers of the Christians we're married to. What's your vision? What kind of world are you working for? What do you want to live? Because if your vision is a world in which there aren't any more believers left, it's never going to happen and it's never going to inspire anyone. But I'm here to tell you that there is a secular vision of making the most of this life by reaching out and building loving relationships with people who need them, and by making things better for other people, and by gathering together to cultivate wonder and to cultivate joy and to create social connections that make us feel like we belong and we matter to each other and our lives have meaning because our relationships have meaning. That I believe will draw them in when you start telling them what we do. And we start talking about why. What's your vision? Is it beautiful enough to inspire other people? Heck, is it beautiful enough to inspire you? Because if it isn't, it may be time to dig down and find a better why. Thanks.